Well, good evening, everyone. I'm David Austin. Welcome to Sign of the Times. We want to thank you for joining us tonight for this special edition, this special live broadcast. Those of you that are watching by way of Facebook, those of you that are watching live on our YouTube channel, I want to thank you tonight. Our normal day for our show is Friday night, but because of what's going on in the world around us, we wanted to come to you live tonight for a special broadcast, bringing with you some special guests, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion, and we're just going to lay it on the table. We're just going to lay it out there and talk about the things that are going on around us. In what my pastor used to say years ago when I was a little boy, my pastor was Bishop Charles E. Williams, and he used to have a little saying about living in this cruel and unfriendly world. We're living in a cruel and unfriendly world. I want to remind you, though, as I do every show, remain safe. Wear your mask, sanitize your hand, protect yourself, protect your loved ones, because we need you. We need you here. I'm excited about our new format, our new platform. We're coming to you in a different format, in a different way, and I'm excited about it. We're working everything out, and we want to bring to you the best possible informed show that we possibly can, with some gentlemen and ladies as they come on the show that are really going to impact us. Before I bring my guests on tonight, I want to have my moment to talk to you, and then I'm going to release them. And I told them they can have the floor tonight. We're just going to converse. My friends, we're living in a dangerous time and a cruel time. You have to be living under a rock somewhere if you don't know what's going on around us, if you haven't been aware of what's happening in Kenosha, what's going on around our country with violence amongst everyone is so fearful now because of the brutality. Everyone is fearful because of what's going on in the political realm. Uh, if you don't know what's been going on with Jacob Blake being shot 7 times in the back, 7 times in the back. If you have a child, that had to be horrifying to realize that this gentleman sat in the car, went in the car, and his 3 children were in the car, saw their daddy shot. That is just terrifying. We're living in unprecedented times, not just because of the coronavirus, but because of what's going on in our nation with what has been called police brutality. The reason why in the upper corner I have the sign Black Lives Matter is to remind everyone that Black lives do matter. It doesn't mean that other lives don't matter. I posted yesterday on social media that if I have a house that's burning, my house is on fire when the fire department comes. If I'm standing outside the house yelling, right here, here's my house, it's on fire. It does not mean that I devalue your house and that your house is not important. What it means is that at the moment, my house is the one that's burning and needs attention. So when we say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that other lives don't matter. It doesn't mean that Latino lives don't matter. It doesn't mean that Caucasian lives and European, Asian lives don't matter. What it means is right now in America, our lives are on fire and we need help. My friends, if you noticed yesterday, the National Basketball Association did something that's unprecedented. They said, listen, we're not going out to play. The Milwaukee Bucks, who play in the state in which that horrific murder took place on last week, said, we're not going out to play. That was a powerful statement by some guys that many people said because of their financial status, they're out of touch. Then the Los Angeles Lakers and the LA Clippers got together and said, we're voting not to play. In my opinion, and my guests may disagree, and I'll let them talk about it. In my opinion, I don't think it's a good idea to just totally stop. I think what you did yesterday was a powerful statement. I think what you did yesterday opened some eyes, that you said, listen, if this doesn't stop, we're not going to keep playing. I listened to the radio today as people were complaining because they wanted their entertainment. But there's some things more important than sports. The reason why I don't think it's a good idea to stop is because we live in a nation that haven't had sports for months. And because of our attention span, once you stop playing, people are just going to forget about it over time. Let me prove my point. If I mention the name George Floyd, everyone will say, yeah, I know George Floyd. Ahmaud Arbery, everyone will know them. Breonna Taylor, we know them. But how many people know when I call this name of Rayshard Brooks? How many people remember who Rayshard Brooks was? It was just in June that Rayshard Brooks was shot or murdered by police officers running from the officers at a Wendy's restaurant while sitting in his car, sleeping off something. We don't know what it was, but it doesn't matter. How quickly we seem to forget. And if the NBA stops playing, it will just be a matter of weeks before everyone will forget and we'll get used to not having sports again. I think you made a powerful statement on yesterday, NBA. Keep making statements like that. Keep hitting them, being strategic with it. We've got to do something, my friends. Before I bring my guests on, let me say this. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of talking about it. We've heard countless number of times we've got to come to the table and talk about the issues. We've sat at the table and nothing's being done. The reason we're doing this tonight, I want some answers. We need to do something besides sit around a table and talk about it because apparently the police in Kenosha weren't at the table. They're still shooting people in the back. With that being said, I want you to help me welcome my guests. They're my brothers, they're my friends. They're on this show very frequently. I had to bring on some frequent guests tonight for this special show. Dr. David Walker, Dr. Stephen Gardner, and Dr. Jeremy Thompson. Welcome, my brothers, and thank you for joining us on this special edition of Sign of the Times tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.
I'm excited. This is probably the first show we've had that we haven't had any technical difficulties and no one's been been muted and no sound and everything. Well, Dr. Gardner, what's going on? What's going on? Talk to us. What do you see happening? What do we need to do? We come to the table where, this just can't be America. This can't be the home of the free, the home of the brave. This can't be.
Well, I think that, it's a boiling point and it's a perfect storm, really, of a lot of things converging at one time. And in this convergence, we have, we're in the thick of the COVID-19. We're in the thick of racial injustice. We're in the thick of employment, layoffs, and the like. The economy is affected by all that's going on. And on the one hand, where you hope that you're getting a breath of fresh air, that maybe we can see some change, turn around. We're in the thick of the COVID. And then, boom, here we got this thing all over again, where police brutality, cops are shooting a man in the back, not 7 times. I mean, that's excessive. And so one hand, because we have those particular issues going on, what we need to do is, okay, how do we leverage that? So the NBA did their thing. They suspended all of their issues, in terms of their games and stuff like that. But guess what? The NHL, the National Hockey League, is suspending their game for both, I think Thursday and tomorrow, or Friday and Saturday. Well, then you got, golf is starting to step up, and you got, people are not being silent about it.
Mm-hmm.
And because these individuals have our attention because there are our athletes, they entertain us, they I know that from Philadelphia, so I won't Joan on your team there, but anyway, but anyway, we want to see our players play, so that that means a lot to us.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to leverage their platform as athletes to make a statement is huge, because it's huge on a number of issues. And I'm going to go and mention this and I'm going to let it go. Is that number one, money.
Mm-hmm.
When you begin to strike at the pocketbook of people that are in power and the like with a social cause, people will listen. We can get out there and we can protest all day long. And I'm just keeping it real. We can get out there and protest all day long. And the powers that be will let them protest, let them do this, do that. But the moment that you start hitting folk in their pocketbook,
Mm-hmm.
The moment the stakeholders and the like start to see a deficit,
Hmm.
it's not popular anymore
Right.
to be perceived as an oppressor or as a person that's a racist. It's not popular, and
Hmm.
that's the shift that I see. It's not popular because it's hitting me in my pocketbook,
Uh-huh.
and I need to switch gears because it's not right for me, and it's most certainly not right for America.
Right.
Dr. Walker?
Well, I hate to be the one to start off on the negative,
Why not?
Come on.
but
It was going to be you or me.
I think you asked the question: um, is this America? You know, what we're seeing, is it America, or it can't be America? I think that's maybe the way you put it from the start, because it is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And of course, I would contend that it is America. It has always been America.
Okay.
It's always been like this for those of us who have, black and brown skin. Now,
Hmm.
I'm not the kind of person who likes to jump on the bandwagon of being a victim because I'm black.
Uh-huh.
I have not allowed anything to hold me back because of my ethnicity and my race. But I do believe that there is a black factor, meaning ever since the inception of America, uh, black people have been oppressed. I said to
Okay.
somebody the other day, I said, when the founding fathers were signing the Declaration of Independence and when they were writing the Constitution, and then they got to that line that says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I asked, were there any black people in the room when they were signing those documents?
Wow.
And the
Yeah.
answer to
Certain.
that is they
Yeah.
absolutely were in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in the room.
Right.
But the letters or the documents didn't include those brown skinned people who were in the room, probably serving tea and
Serving.
coffee,
Right. Right.
doing their domestic
Right.
work. It did not include them. So while the founding fathers, and I do think that intrinsically those words are words of freedom. All men are created equal. They are words of liberation and pride. However, there is always a human factor that we must deal with. And the human factor is, no matter what's written on the paper, it's how you treat me as an individual. The paper says we are free. The paper says we have rights and First Amendment rights and constitutional rights. But then, what is your treatment towards me? And history has shown in America for over 400 years, when your skin is dark,
Hmm.
and the darker the skin, the worse it is, you
Hmm.
will never be treated equally and fairly as long as you have black and brown skin.
All right.
I totally agree with both of your assessments, but as well, I can tell you, like you said to a bishop, I'm tired of talking.
Mm,
I'm at a point in which I'm tired of hearing turn the other cheek.
yes.
I'm tired of marching. I'm tired of protesting.
Mm,
And to see, uh, even one of the things that really struck me thus far is Kenny Kenny the Jet Smith,
yes.
and
Right.
how he said what he had to say, and
And
then
got
he
up and left.
unhooked that mic,
Yeah.
tossed it down, and said, "I'm out." We're at that point.
Mm,
I truly believe we're at the point of which we need to shut everything down.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because though, Dr. Walker, though you said to your knowledge, uh, our skin colors has not been a holdback or a detriment to you. But the key is that you know of.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Right. Right.
Because
Absolutely.
because we all know that, and I'm reading it more and more in the news about how when it comes to home appraisals,
Mm-hmm.
home appraisals, or if your home is up for sale, they tell, if it's a black family, they tell them take down black
No.
photos.
Right.
Or
Right.
if they're Caucasian and they have black family members, they tell them to take those pictures down.
Mm.
Off the bat, an appraisal is going to come in around 40% less
Mm.
other appraisals.
Mm. Yeah, there
No
you go.
matter if you got the biggest house on the block, looks the best, they still going to come in 40% lower in value. I mean, it's at a place right now in which Dr. Gardner, as we was just saying, when I first moved out to Phoenix, it was via a job transfer. I was working here in Cincinnati, and I was promoted to being an audiovisual director, assistant director for this company based here, and they had an office out in Scottsdale at the Hyatt at Gainey Ranch. So when they transferred me out, the manager on site, when he seen I was black, it changed the game, because everybody else could walk around the resort. They could walk around in the open, except for the blacks. Except, oh, you got to stay in the back hallways.
So that's another form of shooting in the back.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because my name is Jeremy Thompson, and I'm very articulate in my speech, and I'm not him hawing and shucking and jiving like what they might have been accustomed to seeing. So that right there is one of the things, immediate slap in the face, and they don't care because it's about the dollar. But when you affect that dollar with taking a stance, then not just are they going to take note, but we got to sound an alarm so that more people take note.
Let me, if I can, go ahead, Dr. Walker.
As Dr. Thompson was talking about, property value, I reached for one of my books from my shelf, and there's a book called The Color of Law, a forgotten history of how government segregated America. In other words, when it came to housing, the government separated black people from white people. So that way, certain
zip codes,
communities,
right?
When you red line and all that kind of stuff.
And isn't that what our politicians are trying to do now through fear?
Right. And again, I want this conversation to be, and it is no doubt, I want it to be very intellectual, and we're not here just to lament about racism, because we're very intelligent people, but there is a factor that is true, and even 400 years later, we're still dealing with that, because when the young man got shot, you cannot convince me that police do not police black people
differently, right?
Equally to white. It's impossible, because we have seen police engage with whites. As a matter of fact, and we'll get to the shooter from last night in Kenosha, the guy with the white kid with the AR-15,
right?
He shot 3 people and then walked to the police, walked past the police, probably told them somebody else over there was shooting, and they let him go home. There's no way in the world a black man would have been shooting up people, would have walked through there and then walked past the police and then went home and got in his bed that night.
Let me do this. As I mentioned, we have a new platform, and Dr. Gardner, I want you to jump in on this. I want to try something with this new platform that I wasn't able to do before. I want you guys to look at this. I want to see, can I do this? This is, his name is Glenn Rivers. He's known as Doc Rivers. He's the head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers. Listen to what he had to say.
Tonight, all you hear is Donald Trump and all of them talking about fear. we're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting shot. We're the ones that we're denied to live in certain communities. We've been hung, we've been shot, and all you do is keep hearing about fear. It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country and this country does not love us back. And it's really so sad. I didn't want to talk about it before the game because it's so hard, like to just keep watching it. That video, if you watch that video, you don't need to be black to be outraged. You need to be American and outraged. And how dare the Republicans talk about fear? We're the ones that need to be scared. We're the ones having to talk to every black child. What white father has to give his son a talk about being careful if you get pulled over? It's just ridiculous. And it just keeps going. There's no charges. Breonna Taylor, no charges, nothing. All we're asking is you live up to the Constitution. That's all we're asking for everybody.
Dr. Gardner, before you speak, we must remind everyone, Doc Rivers is the son of a policeman.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Doc?
You know, that was very passionate of him to say that. I mean, you can really sense that he's tired. And, you know, I know that we're not trying to lament, but the fact that he's tired is speaking that we all are tired. And what bothers me the most in listening to what he had to say, what bothers me the most, if this was a supreme opportunity for our current administration
Yes.
to really step up
Yes.
and say something
Mm-hmm.
positive and not try to dismiss it and not try to, you know, continue this whole narrative of hate and fear. But this was an opportunity that, you know, the current administration could be a healing balm in America's Gilead, instead of being a divisive, corrosive, you know, chemical agent that fused the fire of white supremacy, that fused the fire of hurt and injustice, and it makes people like us that are brown, that are black, Native American, and the like, to wonder what in the world is going on here. You know, we should have been far better than that. Look at today's date. Today is what? Ain't this a historic date?
August the 28th. March on Washington.
27.
27th.
The 27th.
Mhm.
I mean, is
March
it tomorrow? Tomorrow's a historic
Tomorrow's the
date, the March
28th.
on Washington.
Yeah.
So in light of all that's going on, I mean, you got the COVID, you got hurricanes, you got this racial unrest, you got this you got the RNC convention, you got all these things that are going on, and it's like it's a perfect storm. It's a convergence. Maybe someone higher is really trying to get our attention. I don't want to go religion on you, but I'm just really trying to say something that, you know, at this historic moment in our history, you know, 50 some odd years later, we ought to be further along than this. And it just, it's just that we're not there yet. And the conversation, and even if the Biden-Harris ticket, you know, assumes the White House, look, we can't sit on our laurels there either.
Absolutely.
Right.
The work will still continue. We can't do it. We can't do it. You can't do it. We can't believe, we can't sit back and say, okay, that's our answer. No, the answer is in the work we do every day. The answer is in our advocacy. You
Well,
know,
Dr. Gardner, you and I spoke earlier today. If we can deal with that, we
sure.
were talking about that. This how. Let's talk about for a moment. We can come back to what's going on, but how important this election is on the broad scope. Because the average person will say this election is important because I have to vote this guy out. You know that
Yeah.
how important really is. Let's look at the foundation of the election because we talked about this earlier.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I guess let me go back to the point that I think I made. Okay. Um,
About the judges.
oh yeah. Yes. Did you guys know that our current president appointed 198
Yes.
judges to the
Yes.
courts during
Yes.
his tenure,
Yes.
and not a single one of them was black? Now we know the two of them went to the Supreme Court, the others went different places. You know,
Not one.
so not one was black. And so this is the reason why people of color should vote. Because long after he is gone,
Mm-hmm.
his legacy and the legacy of white supremacy will live through the lifetime of these judges as long as they live. You got to get out and vote.
Got to get out.
You know, you got to
Well,
get out and vote. In order to be able to change the narrative and the outcome, we've got to do what we feel is most that our power as citizens is in that booth.
mhm.
That's one act. That's one thing we can do is vote. There are other things we can do, but that's one thing we can do. If you want to change it for the long haul, we've got to do that.
I want to welcome our dear friend, Dr. Janine Hyman. Welcome. we're going at it. We're just talking about it. Dr. Walker, you about to say something?
And I definitely agree with Dr. Gardner about voting, but I do also think that after the vote, then what?
After the vote, then what?
We have to become a more engaged people. We can't just walk to the ballot box, cast a ballot, and then say, I've done my job. No, that's just the start of the job, is going into there and casting your vote. You have to become engaged because it's not just about national elections, it's about local elections.
There you go.
Well,
There you go.
Dr. Walker, the local election, that's what we've been really trying to pound
Sure.
the importance of your local officials. But
Sure.
something else we need to be careful of too, as they're talking about trying to promote fear and if you vote us out, this is going to happen. In essence, that's right, because can you imagine what's going to happen between November and January?
Wow.
Either
Wow.
way,
Either way. Either way.
is that what you're saying, Reverend? Either way, or just one way or the other?
One way or the other. If the election goes in the way in which he's voted out, can you imagine what kind of lame duck 2-month period what will happen in this country for the 2 months?
I think the worst lame duck is if he gets reelected.
Well, yeah, that too. So
Then he would have 4 years with no consequence.
no consequences outside of the fact that he's already trying to get 4 more.
Yeah, he's trying to get up to 12, last I heard.
Right, Dr. Hyman.
He trying to get 12, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Dr. Hyman. We were talking about the shooting in Kenosha. We were talking about voting. You could jump in and tell us what's going, because all of us agree we're tired of saying we got to come to the table and talk about it. We want to know, what do we need to do? Because we're sick. I'm like LeBron. I'm sick of it.
Mm-hmm. I think from a psychological perspective, I think we are mentally exhausted. I think the rest of the air went out of us with Floyd. The rest of the air went out of us. So that even though, some people are protesting, we just don't even have no more air to even react to this, because we just every moment was context in that last murder. But the only thing that I think that we can do, and this is going to be a little difficult for us as a people, is get an agenda, and whether or not we agree with it,
Mm-hmm.
everybody needs to get on that bandwagon. This is what they do.
This is what they do.
I recall Gorbachev, when she was in the first running with all those candidates for president. That lady wanted to be the president, and I recall her giving a speech saying that Biden's running mate should rightfully be an African American woman, and you could see the choke on her. She choked up when she said it. Her desire was to run, but she was able to sacrifice her ambition and say this needs to happen for the sake of the party. And so that's where we kind of lose it at. You know, we just all opinionated and everybody got opinions, and opinions accomplish nothing. We need an agenda, and everybody needs to, we ain't got to agree on the agenda. We ain't got to agree on the candidates. We don't have to agree. We have to agree that until we unite, nothing is going to happen. And we'll be having this conversation when I'm 80 and I can't remember that I'm on the Zoom or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think, until we're able to galvanize, our message needs to change. Mm-hmm. Instead of, y'all and us and them and they, it's okay. How can we collectively get rid of whatever we think or feel and make something happen for our people? Because until that happens, we're going to keep having this same conversation. We've been running around this tree for 400 years. Right. The other thing is, after we vote, then those of us that are seasoned, we need to get behind, and this is a, kind of discerning thing, which we as African people used to have, who got hands on for this? Who's called to this? Who's whatever? And get behind those persons and mentor them and encourage them to run. Voting is good, but if we don't have a seat at the table,
right? Well, Dr. Hyman,
it's no good. We got to be where we can affect laws, and we can lobby, and we can advocate. And then they need to know that as we put people in office and encourage them to run, we need to put our mouth, our manpower, and our money behind that candidate and say, monk with one of us if you want to. That's the piece that's missing.
I truly believe that we should. I'm very tempted to say, drop every party.
Yes.
And create our own independent group. Yeah. Because we don't need to be beholden and taken advantage of by Republicans or Democrats. Right. We need to look at who is the best candidate, discuss it, look at everything about them, and then we make our choices. But as long as we are tied up and taken advantage of year after year, only coming to see us when it's getting time for another election. But as I wanted to hit on something Dr. Gardner and Dr. Walker spoke about, I don't think that this current administration, they have no idea. They cannot even speak on something that is totally foreign to them.
Absolutely.
We've been living this thing for over 400 years. And like Dr. Bishop Hyman, how you said, we're all exhausted. And a lot of people have been saying that all day today. I'm just exhausted with all this stuff because we have to, and someone posted something today saying, I have to get up another morning wondering if I'm going to be shot because I'm black. I mean, all these different things, and to see how the world has changed for us, not everybody else, but us as a people. Yeah. And because after Phileo Castile got shot, I had to go and minister up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And on the drive back with my wife, we had to take a detour because the highway was out. And right off the bat, here comes Smokey pulling us over. And so at that time, everything was even more tense than now. I'm in my truck, a nice Escalade. It ain't new. It was, older truck. I rolled down all four windows. Me and my wife sitting there. We had opened our hands. Our hands was like this, completely wide open. so that they could see coming up that we wasn't reaching for nothing. Everything stayed as it was right there. And even when they came to the windows and asked, "Well, you okay? Y'all, where you headed?" And we stayed just like this the whole time. They said, "Oh, well, you can put your hands down." And me and my wife said, "Oh, no, no, we ain't. We gon' make sure that we are clear and that there is no mistakes here."
That's a
Now
shame.
I'm in a tie, she's in a dress, and they looking in the back. You got any weapons or whatever in the back? I said, it's suitcases with clothes in it. You want to open? Feel free to open them up. My hands is up here. You wonder where I'm going? You see my map quest right there. We going home now. Who else gets treated this way?
Well, I mean, didn't Doc Rivers say that?
Right.
Exactly.
He
It's
said that in
it's
you
exhausting,
know,
and I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, Dr. Garner, but
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I'm tired of seeing people almost in tears over stuff and people acting like they don't understand. They sit there and do the dog head turn, huh? They just don't get it. They don't
Mhm.
get the pain that we wake up with and what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
They don't get it.
Professors, that y'all hear about the professor. She's a professor at a school, and a security guard gonna stop her and question her, saying he didn't believe that she was a professor and that she lived there. Who
Been
else
there,
got?
done that.
Or on the radio today, someone was talking and referred to us as Afro Americans.
Oh wow, I ain't
I
heard
heard
that.
this. In the,
No,
Oh
I
my,
heard this today. Afro
Trump the
American,
main
come on,
one.
man.
and
Trump the main
the,
one saying no one has done more for the blacks than I
the
have.
black.
But then in the next breath, he's sounding off that dog whistle saying they're coming to move into your subdivision, into your suburbs and stuff.
Right.
Calling out the housewife, the come on,
Suburban housewife.
Well,
exactly.
let me open this can of worms, and any of you jump on this because one of the comments that it was a long book written by someone, and then he said good night. So I don't know whether he's still on here listening or not. William T. Rudolph Sr. in a nutshell was saying, so what are we supposed to do? Vote for a candidate, vote for a female who has agreed with same-sex marriages. His last statement: things will not change America, but primarily the church. Go back to doing things God's way. Um, so he's saying
Let
we
me
can't
jump on that.
vote for one party because we have the vice presidential candidate has a history of which the entire Democratic Party, and you guys help me. The entire party is saying, listen, we're not the pastors of the United States.
That's correct.
We're
Right.
we're elected political officials to set policies. We're politicians.
Right.
He was not Pastor or Bishop Obama. He was President Obama.
Right.
And the view of the Democratic Party is, listen, and if you're like me, Dr. Thompson, I do know you are likewise in military. I may not condone or tell you that it's okay for you to do something, but I will fight with the last drop of blood to defend your right to do it,
Right.
Correct.
which is what the Democratic Party said. Listen, you have a right to do it. I'm not saying that it is right.
Right.
I'm saying you have a right.
Mhm.
Am I correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Let me
And
go.
absolutely.
Can I get a piece of this?
get all of it if you want.
Go ahead, Bishop.
For him. You know, you're absolutely on it. It's something wrong with us. It's a religious spirit, and that religious spirit finds its roots in this white evangelicalism.
Well,
So then we don't know the difference between church, culture, civilization, state, government. We don't know the difference. And so we're trying to take some warped Judeo Christianity, and I mean warped Judeo Christianity model, which Judaism and Christianity are antithetical to each other anyway. So it's a schizophrenic religion anyway. But we're trying to make this Judeo Christianity model or paradigm and stick a republic that's a democracy in a paradigm that does not fit. And so We're talking about we're going to put the candidate that represents our belief system. That's not the political system that we have here. That is not the structure. That is not the Constitution. Even when we talk about the founding fathers, this is not the belief of the founding fathers. Okay, we know what the founding fathers were. They here out of rebellion. The founding
Right.
fathers is what wrote this foolishness in the first place with no concept of anybody else but them. And so we're gonna have to stop the madness and it's really an ignorance on one hand and it's an immaturity on the other hand. We're gonna have to stop trying to make everything about a religious conviction.
Right.
Because all
Right.
of it's hypocritical. The
Absolutely.
same people that's talking about they can't endorse nobody for giving people the right to decide whether they're gonna keep a child or not are the same people that knocked up half of these people that got rid of babies. Stop playing with this.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same stuff. So the other piece of this is, and it just make me want to pull my hair out. The other piece of this is that we can't say we're not going to vote. This is the dumbest thing. You know, where we can't support Kamala Harris. Stop acting stupid. Support the lady. That's who we got. We
That's
don't even
right.
need to be having these discussions. We got two people, Biden or Trump.
Right.
Are we crazy about either of them? No,
Right. No.
they're still old white men, old
That's
rich
right.
white men. So let's get over the foolishness. We're gonna have to make a decision whether or not we want 4 more years of Donald Trump or not. Any other discussion is a moot point. Let's start again at the local level, at the state level, and begin to put our people in place. Dr. Thompson, I love this whole idea. Let's all us get off of any ticket and vote, you know, just get our own agenda. I like it.
Yeah.
And vote that and stop all of this religious mumbo jumbo. The other piece of this is religiously, if we want to do that, is to say, even God gives Adam and the woman a right to sin.
That's
He
right.
gives them a choice.
Right.
He
That's
says,
right.
this is my order, but this is your choice. In fact, I'm going to put 2 things here so that you can exercise the way I wired you, or you can exercise the power of choice. That is all this is. You know, so how are we going to be more than God to people? Come on here with that.
Right.
We
That's
need
true.
to stop the
That's true.
foolishness and say either we want another 4 years of of the president that we currently have, or we don't. That's it.
Because not voting is voting, by the
Stop
way.
it.
And if,
True.
Because
And
if you don't vote, you did vote.
and if I can borrow a term from Maya Angelou, when she said, when someone shows you who they are, believe it.
Believe 'em.
She said, when someone shows you who they are, believe it, believe them the first time. I just want to change it just a little bit. When someone shows you who they are, believe it the first term.
How about that?
Right.
Right.
How about
Oh,
that? Brother,
Because you're
It's-
going to get it again.
this is so powerful because, oh my God, if we don't do something now, and Bishop, as you were saying though, it's like they're trying to legislate holiness and sanctification.
Right.
But then
on their hypocritical terms.
because look what happened this week when that veil was pulled back on Jerry Falwell Jr.
See?
Right.
And they show the real deal of all the foolishness that's really going on behind the closed doors. And and one other thing too is the fact that they want us all to jump on that ticket. You know, supposedly what he's doing for the churches, this, that, and the third. But the more study you do, the more you find out how we were conditioned to believe what we believe today. The more we study, the more we find out. I've been on this for about 2 weeks, and I'm just now learning about the number of black kings who ruled over Europe. the things that we're not taught in school. But yet you want me on your side, and you won't, and then you let blow that little dog whistle last night, Pence, saying this ain't about being a conservative country or democratic country. It's to keep America. It meaning they want to stay in power and stuff because they realize that they are now the minority in this country, and eyes are coming open. We're learning more than has been hidden from us for so many years.
Yes.
You know, I like to hitch myself to what Bishop Hyman said. You know, I know that we try to make politics when it comes to presidents, you know, a God thing. There were a lot of people trying to say, you know, that Trump was God's choice. I'm not in that camp that says people become presidents because that's who God wanted. And I argue that from the scriptures, when God wanted a theocracy, but the people wanted a monarchy king. And what God did was he gave the people what? Their choice.
Exactly. What they wanted.
America has a voting system.
That's correct.
And people go into the polls, into the booths and vote. Can you imagine you vote, but then God changes it and does something different? No. Why would we then have a right to vote if everything is, you know, quote unquote divine? So you know what I'm saying? So it is not.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So the evangelicals ran on that Trump was God's choice, blah, blah, blah. Because then you have to answer, and I'm always thinking, you remember when President Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation? And let's say every president was the will of God, right? Well, when Lincoln got shot, God knew that Johnson was his vice president. And God would know that then when Johnson takes over, that everything Lincoln did, he was going to undo. Right?
Right.
So the point I'm trying to say is that this system of politics is the choice of the people.
That's
people
correct.
Must go to the polls and cast their vote. That's the bottom line.
But Dr. Walker, I think what his post was saying was, that because of who you have in the White House is not right. And on the other hand, you have Kamala, who believes in same sex, that God is not pleased with either one. So Christians don't vote. Just keep your hands out of it.
Absolutely
but what I'm saying is you are voting by not voting.
You're voting by not voting.
But tell me what person in office that God was pleased with.
Come on here.
Of the 45, which one of them? When you had racists, when you had slave owners, was God approving of those men? No. It was the people who vote in America. And therefore, because America is a democratic, and so I know it's a republic, but we have a democratic system. We have a voting system.
Yes.
People are going to get in. People are going to have behaviors that's not in the will of God. They're going to have sin nature. They're going to go into the Oval Office. Some of them may commit adultery while they're in the Oval Office.
Right, while they're in it.
They're going to have slaves while they're in the Oval Office. Some are going to be racist. Some are going to vote for same-sex marriages. That's people. We are human. So you have to cast a vote for the person that you feel they fit with your agenda. And then sometimes no one is going to meet every part of your agenda, but you still cast a vote anyway.
Because if in reality, same-sex marriage is here to stay.
Listen, it's a constitutional right.
It's a constitutional right.
That's all.
Whether she believes in it, whether she's performed it, is really a moot point at this point.
But and I know this person is not considering that the present occupant is pleasing to God. Is he saying that?
No, he said. I think what his post. I think from his post is saying that. I think the post is saying, if you guys mind, I will read it. So we now just vote for a woman who advocates same-sex marriage and sex normally. This is our answer. Does God have anything to do with this? God is angry with America and the church because no one is listening to him. Where does the Bible stand in all of this?
Why is God angry with America?
Just asking.
Here would be my question. Why is God angry with America? And then what has America done historically that was pleasing to God? Give me the time, give me the period when America's spirituality was so holy that God was pleased. America is not a number one a superpower because of its religious beliefs, because the Constitution has no religious,
Right.
what's the word?
See, Dr. Walker, you're saying it right there, and this is how we've got hoodwinked about America.
Yeah.
Because we say on the one hand it was founded upon Christian principles, and on the other hand, we're forgetting the fact that America is not a Christian country.
Absolutely, it is not.
It is not a Christian. It is not a Christian country, because if it was a Christian country, then we would have, like they have in Islam, Sharia law.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We don't have Sharia law here.
Right.
Absolutely.
We have a constitution, and we have a statement that says, the church and the state are separate, and that's a whole nother debate.
And freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion, which means we have a plurality. You can't be Christian if you have a plurality of paths that are authorized or have the right to express themselves. So we're not a Christian country.
Mm-hmm.
So what I got to do, and I'm gonna just be real, I got to find some weak-minded folk and convince them that we are a Christian country, and then sell them a bill of goods and get them to believe that, we're violating God's will by selecting a candidate that might not line up with your particular pet religious beliefs. See, not all Christian beliefs, are the same. So, the evangelicals have a particular position, and they always ride on same-sex marriage. They always ride upon what? Abortion.
Mm-hmm.
They always ride upon these things, and where did that flow from? That flow from the moral majority. That goes all the way back to Falwell and all these others.
Very Falwell.
So that's what it's hinged on. And
Yes.
And it was originally evangelicals back in the 30s and the 40s and on back there. They had a position that they were against being involved in politics.
Mm-hmm.
But history will show you that they morphed to where they saw that, okay, if I get a political position, I can get my candidate in there to what? Further the agenda of the few, or further the agenda of white supremacy. Now, I'm quoting something from a book that I'm reading, White Too Long. If y'all ain't got that book, you can look it up. Get it on Amazon. White Too Long. And this guy was already in the evangelical camp, and he tells his story. And then he does his research, and he disseminates that. Look, this brings up my next point. Every person listening to this broadcast right now needs to be bent upon getting the facts for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that.
We got to be people that are willing to research outside of the pet news outlets that favor your worldview. You gotta find some bipartisan, or you gotta find some way to cut through all that and get the facts. Make quality decisions based upon facts, not based upon whim. That's one of the things we got to do after the 2020 election. We got to be fact finders.
Mm-hmm.
We got to make that part of our personal mandate. I'm gonna be a fact finder. I'm not gonna blow with every wind of doctrine that keep coming across. I'm gonna see if this is really true,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be hoodwinked anymore. I'm not going to be have selective amnesia. I'm not going to forget where I came from.
Right.
I mean, I could go on down the line.
Yes.
But
Dr.
anyway,
Gardner, Dr.
yes,
Gardner, and I don't know how we're out in left field. We're out in left center field, uh, based on where we started. We're way out here.
That's all right. Bake McBride played out there.
But let's deal with this, because if we're talking about the fact that you have a candidate that perform this ceremony, what have you. We talked about the fact that they're not elected officials. How do you deal with this as having a bunch of preachers on here when someone comes to you and says, I have a comment from awesome man of God, Douglas Hosmer, who said, always those two things are going to exist in America. Once something is legal, it cannot become illegal. It is legal. What she did was legal. How do you deal with it when someone comes to you and says, I want to get married?
how do I deal with it?
I mean, any of you. I'm just throwing it out there because it's legal.
Well, it's in our Constitution and bylaws.
Right.
We
So
put them there prior to it becoming legal. That this is how we define.
how you right. So
Yes,
that's
and
all
this
I
is what
wanted to
we
hear.
would do,
That's all.
and that we
Right.
are not
That's
an
what I
affirming
wanted to hear.
church.
That you yourselves have it set up. But as
Yes.
a nation, again, going back to my point, she is not prophetess Harris.
That's
Right,
correct.
not.
Neither was he Prophet Obama.
Right.
Exactly.
You
So
know, so you
go
know,
ahead.
so we need to kind of stop with the madness, and we are going to have to, and maybe we need some round tables, where we have discussions like this, probably in private, to see how we are collectively going to deal with this, but individually, the way I covered myself based on my religious beliefs and my religious freedom
Right.
is that I am non-affirming. Now,
So,
I ain't
so are you
I'm
saying?
not gonna bother you. If that's what you do, then that's the fruit from the tree that you ate of. I ain't eating that.
But are you
You eat
saying
that,
that?
that's between you and your God.
But are you saying that what we try to do is use them as a scapegoat to do? I don't want to say do our dirty work, but to pass a law that says I don't have to do it. When in essence, I should be the one myself that's saying I'm not going to do it because of my.
Say that again.
Are we trying to get them to take the heat for something that we don't want to do? In other words, do I want my legislators to say that something shouldn't be done when in essence I should be the one to step up and say,
Sure. What prophet want to stand in front of a gun and take a bullet? So if we can get somebody else to do that, and we can then abdicate taking a stand about anything, So I think in many cases, Bishop, you're right. We're trying to get them to do so that we don't have to take a stand, or we don't have to confront, or we don't have to subject ourselves to scrutiny and persecution or prosecution.
But
I think so.
clergy aren't required to marry a same sex. Am I correct or am I not correct?
They're not required.
Right. So
Not required, but they'll file a suit against you for saying that you
Or-
won't.
Or you can make a qualified referral. You can refer them to an open and affirming congregation that does
That's
support.
right.
you can just tell them I'm not available.
I mean,
365
thank you, Dr. Walker.
Huh?
Yeah, I got a golf tournament that day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm not available.
Africa, America, saints don't
That's
play
right.
golf.
Who?
I'm conducting a
I just
revival.
played yesterday. I played.
Y'all know we ain't used to play no golf. Y'all done assimilated.
Man,
They soft, Dr. Gardner, they soft.
I can't believe he did that.
Assimilated.
I got a golf ball
I
right.
can't believe
I keep
he
one
gonna
near.
use a
Just in
golf
case there is.
game.
What day
Where do
you
we
going?
go from here, guys? We've been on here. We've been on here an hour. Where do we go from here? We started off talking about this racial tension. We talked about Jacob Blake. Where do we go from here? We all said we were frustrated. We were sick and tired of sitting around the table. We brought politicians, preachers, policemen. We've had marches. We walked to the to City Hall. We've sat there in City Hall. We've We talked to our elected officials. We had a prayer breakfast, and and then he still gets shot 7 times. I don't know if you saw a video. Another officer still put his neck on someone while punching them. Apparently, they're not watching the videos. Even in Kenosha, no body cameras. Nobody. It's in the budget. It's in the budget for 2021. But no body cam. If by the grace of God someone was filming with this cell phone, or we would never have known what happened.
You would never heard about it.
What do we do? Because we're not just the 5 of us. There are millions of us that's frustrated, fearful. You know, you like me. Every time I see a vehicle with the lights on the top, I cringe up. Because I know what I have in my vehicle, that if I'm pulled, like Dr. Thompson said, I better have both hands open, feet open, everything open.
And please know, brethren, they're not just doing it to black men.
Exactly.
That's right. They're
not just doing it to black men.
Right.
Okay. And I understand the young lady, ma'am, what you doing in here? Excuse me, I'm a department chair. You the department. Yeah. Yeah. So it's everywhere. It is pervasive everywhere. And so we do need to know that piece, that it is not just a target on black men. There's a reason why that is being pushed like that. There's an undercurrent even to that.
Right.
There's an undercurrent to that. It is happening to all of us. That poor baby that got shot in her house, nobody been brought to justice.
Right.
Nobody saying nothing.
No,
right?
You having a convention and you're talking about all of this stuff and you're not even mentioning her. You're not even
right.
Come on. All of you on here are old enough.
Dismissing of the black woman.
But the question is, all of you on here are old enough to remember years ago was a song that says, "Tell me, where do we go from here?" Mm-hmm. I would sing it, but I don't want to.
Oh no! Please don't do that, man.
Desecrate this forum.
Well, my position is.
Before you answer, Doc.
Okay.
Go ahead and finish. But I'm going to ask each one of you, where do we go from here? And you know me, all of you, all 4 of you been on here before. I want to hear as we end this show tonight, because Dr. Gardner has another show in a little bit. I want to know from all 4 of you, where do we go from here? Like I'm a 6-year-old.
Well, what I was going to say is, we're past sitting down at the table and having conversations. Mm-hmm. It really goes to the heart of the person, the heart of the. And I'm gonna be honest with you. All people have to have regards for all people. However, the greater issue has always been between whites and people of color. And as long as there's a privileged attitude, a privileged mindset, if you don't think you're racist or that you're biased or that you're prejudiced, then you got a problem, because everyone has bias in them. Everyone has prejudice.
That's right.
In them. It's just human nature. But now it's what you do with that. So as long as you can see yourself as superior to me, we'll never get along. We will never agree, because there's a superiority that resides in some people that always say, I'm better, I'm more privileged, I don't have to abide by those rules, you're less than I am. So I don't mind having conversations. I don't mind sitting down, kumbaya, conversations at the table. But until by a majority, I'll say it, and I'm not afraid, the white race removes their superiority, their privilege, to see people of color as less than they are, it'll never happen.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Gardner?
Well, in terms of an action plan, and I think that's what you're really getting at, Bishop Austin, is an action plan. As a pastor and as an educator, my action plan will continue to do what I have been doing, finding select books that speak to the issues at hand, that are enlightening, that anybody can read. Second, being able to create talking points from pieces of the material that we've read for the sole intent to enlighten and illumine the minds. That's what I'm going to do. And we probably need to expand upon that a little bit more, but I'm going to continue to tell you about books that are enlightening. I'm going to continue to pull things out of these books that become talking points so we can disseminate the information to we all have networks. We can disseminate that information to our network and get our constituents really talking about it and getting some feedback from them. Because the five of us do not have all the answers. And sometimes the answers are in those who follow us, those who look to our guidance and leadership. So that's what I'm going to do. That's my action plan.
All right, Dr. Thompson.
To be honest, the two Caucasian men that lost their lives yesterday, being shot and killed by that 17-year-old boy. Before I do something outside, I have to take care of things inside. And what I mean by that is I still have this God's love and that forgiveness in my heart. But I'm taking a position to protect my home and protect my family first. Second, I would love to see all of those who are together on this thing of bringing balance to this nation. I believe we can come together and do like we're doing right now, whether it's TED Talks, open conversations, open conferences where everybody can come in and, like Dr. Gardner, like you just said, we don't know it all, but my goodness, if we all come together, something great can come out of it, a great plan that can be put into action. But I got to start with taking care of home first. I got to protect mine.
Dr. Hyman.
Okay. Where do we go from here? I don't know. How about that?
Okay.
I really don't know.
Good answer.
I really don't know. Do I have my own convictions about what I can do? I can continue to lift up my voice like a trumpet in Zion. I can continue in my own personal goal to be authentically who I am designed to be. I can continue in my own personal goal to self-actualize so that I leave the world a better place than I found it. I can continue to say to my people, or whoever, it may be their people, because the time may come where I may have to speak truth to power to them. To say to our people, before you respond, read. Before you complain and criticize, educate yourself. Before you accuse, inquire. Ask some questions. Find your own purpose and find your own niche and find out what area you have been divinely crafted to bring advocacy and emancipation. Ultimately, that's what we all do in some form or another. I do it in a classroom. Wherever you put me, I'm going to work purpose. If you put me in a classroom, I'm going to educate you. If you put me in a pulpit, I'm going to educate you. If you put me on the street corner with now I'm saying, I'm going to educate you. If you put me in the psychiatrist or psychologist office doing treatment, I'm going to educate you. And so that is my purpose. I got to stay disciplined, discipled, decisive, definitive, and not be distracted on what it is I came here to do, and to impact as many people as I can.
That's right.
So that when I leave here, I'm empty and I ain't got nothing else to do.
Good.
So we're gonna all have to take a personal responsibility and stop, just leave each other alone. Stop acting like your oppressor.
That's
and
it.
leave each other
Well,
alone and begin to support our differences and our uniqueness and even our flaws. Come on here. We all
That's
have
right.
them. We all have them. So let's
yeah,
stop the religious rigmarole. We are acting just like our oppressors.
Mm.
And we are doing for them what they cannot do for themselves because that spirit has infiltrated the psyche of our people. So
Mm,
even when they ain't present, they're still present. We're going to have to gut that mess out of us
that's
and
right.
learn who
Mm.
we are
That's
as
right.
a people and why God has put us here as moral agents of this country.
That's
And
right.
until we become the moral agents, America gonna keep getting a spanking because he ain't expecting but so much. So
That's
we're
right.
the moral agents. And so we're gonna have to stop all this crazy stuff and wearing each other out and just anything they do, we're gonna try to do it better. No, no. Find out uniquely what it is that we do. And let's do that well. That's our part. This is what we can bring to the table as a diverse group of people. This is how we begin to show, hey, listen, we can tolerate diversity and celebrate it. We don't have to dismiss our diversity. We can have the distinctions and the classifications, as long as those classifications are equal, and learn to
Mhm.
celebrate that stuff. But in terms of what we can do overall, I do not have a clue. I'm still asking because I am tired.
All
Mm,
right. I thank you so much.
I'm even
Well,
tired of asking.
I want us to go on this note then, because what Dr. Hyman said was so powerful. I think I played this clip before. Give me about 30 more seconds, guys. I'm gonna let you go, because what she said was also echoed back in the 60s, and I think it
Wow.
rings so powerful today. Words of the late great Fannie Lou Hamer. Listen to what she said.
Mm.
Same words you just said about I just don't know.
This lead me to say, you know, all of the burning and bombing that was done to us and the houses, nobody never said too much about that, and nothing was done. But let something be burned, by a black man, and then my God, you see, the flag is is drenched with our blood because you see, so many of our ancestors was killed because we have never accepted slavery. We had to live on it, but we've never wanted it. So we know that this flag is drenched with our blood. So what the young people are saying now, give us a chance to be young men, respected as a man, as we know this country was built on the black backs of black people across this country. And if we don't have it, you ain't gonna have it either, because we gonna tear it up. That's what they saying. And people ought to understand that. I don't see why they don't understand it. They know what they've done to us. All across this country, they know what they've done to us. This country is desperately sick, and man is on the critical list. I really don't know where we go from here.
Mm.
Wow. Lord, that almost
Was
drew
that
tears.
it brought chills. It actually sent chills down, especially that last part. We're on the critical list, and we don't know.
mm.
critical list.
And I'm like you guys. I don't know what to do except we can't be angry, because the Bible does say anger rests in the bosom of fools.
But it
Mhm.
does say be angry and sin
Angry
not.
but
Be
sin not.
angry and sin not.
Even
Don't
God
let it
gets angry, sir.
don't
But
let it
his
rest there
anger
too
is
long.
redemptive.
Don't let it rest. Don't let it stay there too long.
No, we got to find
The
healthy
question is
expressions for anger.
right,
Right.
because
Hey,
you can listen to that and ask the question: did she just record that last night?
Mm.
Absolutely.
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah,
proves,
that's what I'm saying.
have we made any progress
Mm,
over the
Yeah.
last
mm,
50
mm,
years?
And Rev, I was just going to say this. You know,
mm.
as a people, we have to love ourselves.
Yes.
We
Right.
we can't we can, and this is what the brothers were saying about starting with us. We can't at least first start with them. We have to love ourselves first. We got
And that
to
doesn't
love,
mean I don't love you. Because I love my people don't mean I don't love you.
right,
That's right.
right. Yeah.
But it also means I ain't got to take your mess either. Excuse me. I mean, it does.
You right. You right.
If y'all
You
think
right.
for real,
You right.
your mama or your dad, a big mama, somebody loved you to life, but they beat that tail when you
That's
start
right.
acting like you were
That's right.
barbaric.
I know that's right.
Yeah, so my loving you does not mean I have to accept your behavior.
Right.
Absolutely.
In fact,
I
if
love
I
me
love
enough
you,
not to
I'm
accept.
gonna confront you
Right.
before I forgive you.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Excuse me, brethren, but you know
That's
I'm just
all
a
right.
little sick up.
Guys, thank you so much. Dr. Walker, thank you so much. Always on the ready. Dr. Thompson, always on the ready. Dr. Hyman, we got to get through to the Vatican to get special permission to get you in.
Look, I done held my prayer up. I got prayer tonight.
Dr. Gardner, always on the ready.
You're gonna be the first pope. They're gonna be the first pope anyway.
I said,
Yeah.
don't come in yet.
We had to go through the Vatican. We had to put in a special application to get her in. I was slick this time. I didn't ask you. I know how to get you on here.
No, because I said something about that. I said, no, he should contact me.
I'm scared to ask.
That's right. Last minute.
I'm scared. Dr. Gardner, tell us what you got coming up in the next 30 minutes.
I have my program called Unchurched Live. No holds barred spiritual conversation for the seeker and the skeptic. Tonight we're going to be talking about spirituality, and then we're going to be talking about New Age spirituality and what we should do about it, or what we need to understand about it. I got a millennial that's coming on, and so if you got connection to my platform, you can watch it at 9:00 your time.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys more than you know. We just threw this together at the last minute because it's much needed. We needed to do this. We really needed to do this.
And I was glad to come on here. So stop.
All right, y'all. So you gonna come back? I'm gonna say it and do my Bernie Mac imitation now. Y'all heard of America? Y'all heard of America?
I'm glad to. I told you that.
I know that.
I'm in now. I'm in.
Love you guys. Appreciate you guys.
All right,
Love
bro.
you all.
All right.
Wonderful evening.
All right.
All right.
Peace. All right.
Want to thank all of our guests tonight that came on tonight to be with us. Special thank everyone. Just thank you. We appreciate you. Appreciate coming on, allowing us to talk to you about this hot topic. This is a hot topic. It's a very important topic. And as Dr. Hyman said, we don't know the answers. We don't know. But we're going to keep digging until we find out what it is we need to do to make our lives better, to make America better. Tomorrow night, another special show. We're going to do part 2 of the show that we did last week on suicide. DeMarcus Huff will be back with us on tomorrow night. Last week, he talked about the fact that he was riding around with a gun to his head. A gun to his head, 23 years old, riding around after losing his brother. His brother hit by a stray bullet. Had a gun in the car, put it to his head, riding to the beach. But he remembered what his mama taught him about loving the Lord, and he trusted God. And now at 23 years old, this young man has gone from a gun to the head to owning and running one of the most productive restaurants in the Rockingham area of North Carolina. I went to his restaurant last week, and when I tell you that food, my God, from on high, it was just unbelievable to see how many people they serve in the community, homeless people. So he's going to be back with us on tomorrow night for another show. We're going to do part 2 because according to him, he hadn't told the whole story. I want you to join us here tomorrow night, 8:00, as we continue talking about suicide. It is live. It is real. It is alive. And it exists in the lives of not just older. Suicide doesn't just exist in the lives of those who are in prison, incarcerated, or those who have lost money on Wall Street. It exists in the lives of you, me, and our young people. And we talked about the signs, and we're going to continue to get this testimony of this young man. And I'm going to show you some pictures tomorrow of how we went and had such a wonderful time. Listen, my friends, I appreciate you more than you ever know that you came to be with us tonight as we tried out this new platform. No glitches tonight. Hallelujah. Great. My God, no glitches tonight. Everything flows so smoothly. And I'll see you back here tomorrow night. But before I go, I do want to ask you this question, and I want to challenge you tonight. Tonight, when you go to bed, I want to challenge you to look yourself in the mirror. Look yourself dead in the eyes and ask yourself this simple question. Today, did I work toward my purpose? Did I work toward doing what God called me to do? Or did I just waste another day? I'll see you tomorrow right here on Sign of the Times.